Hi, welcome to Insider Yachting. This is the full-length review for Serena, which is a 147-foot Trident Marine. Now, if you'd like the yacht pack for this boat, it's available over on the website insideryachting.com. It's just over on the right-hand side here. Click on that button, leave your name, the name of the boat that you're interested in, and the best email address to send it to you, and we'll get that off right away. Now, the yacht packs are already created for all of the boats that we've reviewed this week. We also have one created for every boat that's currently for sale on the market. And what the yacht pack has is all the photographs, detailed descriptions, and all of the specifications, along with pricing analysis and some other bits and pieces of information we have on the boat, all wrapped up in what we call a yacht pack, and it's free, ready to go. Just request whichever boat you're interested in, and we'll get that off to you. Now, we also have the daily yacht tours ready to go, so that's again over on the right hand side. Click on that and we'll get you on board any of the boats that are in the area that you might be interested in. So let's take a look at Serena. Now, she's 147 feet long, launched in 2000 by Trident Marine. Trident aren't around anymore, but they did create a lot of great boats in multiple different size ranges. They had a great following in the smaller size ranges, under sort of 80 feet. They had a great set of boats that they launched in this sort of size range as well as Serena is today. So a good product, just unfortunately the manufacturer isn't around anymore. The boat has a 28-foot beam. She has a 7-foot 5-inch draft. Her current asking price is one of the big draws for this boat. It's priced at $6,300,000. And as we look through the boat and see all of the work that's been put into it recently, you'll sort of develop a good sense of how competitive that price is and how aggressively they have it priced right now. The boat went through major refit periods right from 2008 through to 2012, and we can see all of that work that's been done throughout the brochure here. So let's take a look further in. It's worth mentioning she is here in South Florida. We've done a couple of tours on board, so if this is something that you think might be suitable for you, first step is probably to get that yacht pack, and then we can get on board. So let's take a look at these photographs. Now, the first set on the left hand side, this is of the main deck aft. Now, she has some great exterior spaces, even though the boat is a 2000 and some of the older boats didn't have such compelling sort of exterior areas as they do today. This boat, Serena, she really has some nice exterior spaces for the size of the boat, and the interior, it sort of has some unique layout features that you would perhaps see on a larger boat. So a very good option here, especially when you see that that price of $6,300,000. So the main deck aft, we have these three separate seating areas back here. The teak has all been redone back here. All of these cushion covers and the built-in seating has all been recovered back in the refit period that took place last year, 2011, and into the last year. The teak tables have been refinished here, so a great newer sort of feel to this area. It's also nice that they have the leafs in the middle of the very aft table, so you can set that up for exterior dining and have some loose chairs around the forward leading edge of that table for fitting sort of the complete capacity of the boat around that table. There is another dining area here, and we see that on the right hand side at the top. This is the dining area that's at the very aft of the salon, so it's a slightly different layout here. And indeed they have a different sort of feel to the forward end of this deck as well, and we'll see that a little bit later on. So the main salon here is a real nice feel. They have lots of nice sort of neutral tones that they use. I like the pale blues that they offset that with the different tones of wood. You have the dark colors around the table here and the different colored woods in the built-in cabinetry. So there's really a lot going on here, but it actually works very well, sort of playing off each other. And all of these bits and pieces of soft goods are all new. The carpet's new, the furniture's new, the TV's new, the finish to the wood has all been brought back to its proper luster and shine. The bar stools have been recovered and the stainless retreated. All of this artwork is new. The wall coverings and the ceiling panels have all been refinished. Literally every possible area that you can touch on this boat has been either rebuilt or replaced since 2008 and 2012, the two major yard periods there. The boat was taken back by one of the US builders as part of a trade deal for a new boat. So all of this work that was done to the boat was done by a reputable builder, by their contractors and their in-house people. Sometimes when you're doing refits to boats that aren't done in one yard facility, sometimes they're done in yards where the yard only allows in outside contractors. They don't have their actual own workers. Sometimes when you have all those different parties come together, it doesn't create such a solid product as like you see here. You can get with going to a yard that has their own in-house people that do it day in, day out, work with each other all the time. The millwork people know how to work with the electrical people that know how to work with the plumbing and the AV electronics, and it all comes together to create a much more reliable piece of equipment here, which is what we have with Surina. So another photograph of the main salon there at the top on the left hand side. That's just the same shot as before, but the TV has been lowered, so you see the electric lift of the TV there. And then below that, the bottom photograph on the left, that's of the forward end of the main deck level. Now, where you would perhaps expect to see an on-deck master cabin or maybe a country-style kitchen, what they've done here is have a very sort of formal, segregated dining room. So it's almost a different take on the country kitchen layout. That the kitchen is actually just the other side of that wall that you see with the big piece of artwork there. So potentially in the future, if someone did want to open this area all up and create much more of a open plan concept, that is always something that can be looked at. But it's nice to have this formal dining area for the people that like to have that option in a boat. Now that is nice and it is great having that type of layout, but of course there's only a certain amount of space on the boat, so you have to sacrifice and sort of give and take here and there. And of course the downside of not having the master cabin up on this level is that you then have to have it down below, and that eats into a lot of real estate down in that lower level. So the boat does have 5 cabins. It has 4 other guest cabins down on this lower level. So whilst this is a nice roomy master cabin, the other guest cabins won't be as big as a boat which has the master cabin on the upper level. Now they're still very nice cabins, very spacious and roomy and luxurious feel, but that's the sort of sacrifice that you have to make to have this great main deck level, and we can see that in some of the other photographs here. Still in the master cabin here, over on the left hand side, there's a nice sort of desk and a vanity area there to the I think that's the port side. The starboard side, we can see over here there's sort of a similar desk area there as well. And then into the bathroom. All of these stone surfaces have been refinished. All of the fittings and fixtures have been either refinished or replaced. All of the bedspreads and the cushions and the pillows, all that's brand new. New mattresses, new wall coverings, ceiling treatment, and carpets are all new as well. So again, down here, everything has been brought up to a modern standard, as has the AV on board as well. And you can see some of the flat screen TVs dotted around throughout the guest cabins. So the right-hand side photographs, these are of the VIP suites. Nice, still a fairly roomy feel down here. And then we move into some of the other cabins. As you can see, it still feels, nothing really feels cramped down here, but perhaps not as big as what you would see on another 150-foot boat that has that master cabin upstairs. All of the bathrooms have a similar feel. They're all sort of bright and airy. They have the light granite countertops and the nice sort of glass enclosure to the showers there. And again, in these cabins, as in the master cabin, all of the fittings and fixtures are all new and replaced. So these are the last two cabins now. So as you saw, there's the two VIP cabins here with the nice big, I believe they're queen size beds, and then you have these other two cabins which are the twins. So we have the master cabin, two twins and two doubles on board. And in fact, these twin cabins actually feel quite roomy in here. They're not single beds, they're sort of full beds that they call them. It's a little bit bigger than a single bed, so a nice feel down here. Nothing feels too cramped at all. And the same in their sort of fixtures and fittings and carpets and wall treatments, and even the wood down here has all been refinished and brought back to a sort of a new luster and a new shine. Now moving up into the Sky Lounge through this beautiful stairway that we see at the top photograph on the right hand side. The lower photograph there is of that Sky Lounge. It has a beautiful bar that runs fore and aft, and then you have the seating running sort of fore and aft on the opposite side of the Sky Lounge. And you can see there they play with similar sort of almost pastel colors, whereas they had the pale green the pale blue downstairs in the main salon. They now have the pale green up here in the Sky Lounge. They play that off with the dark colors to the seats and all of the different tones to the woods around here. They have some almost mahogany colors against some sort of ash tones up here as well. And there's a day head up here too, that you can see that in the lower photograph on the left hand side. Now moving into the galley, here's another area where all of the equipment has been replaced. They have new ovens, new microwaves, new stove tops. The refrigerators and freezers are new in here as well, so as are the ice makers around the boat. So really an interior that doesn't properly represent the overall age of the boat. Essentially, the boat is a 2008 boat because every piece of equipment has either been rebuilt or replaced, even down to the plumbing and the pumps. So a very modern feel to the interior of this boat. Here we see the captain's cabin and then into the bridge that you can see on the right hand side there. The captain's cabin has a nice office in it as well. And then up onto the sun deck. The sun deck has a brand new jacuzzi tub up here. All of the exterior cushions and seating has all been recovered. All of the teak decks up here have all been retreated and refinished as well. And also paintwork up here has been redone too, as it has done on other areas of the boat. So this sun deck has this huge sun pad towards the aft. It has the jacuzzi tub which sits underneath the mast. There's also a rain exterior shower up there as well. Then you have that seating area around the forward brim that we saw just a second ago. Other areas to the boat are in front of the pilot house. There are a couple of different seating areas here. You can see the large sun pad there on the foredeck on the bottom left-hand photograph, and then another one On the deck lower than that is actually on the bow, is another sort of seating area, and you can see that on the top on the right hand side. That's actually just forwards of where we saw that dining room earlier on in the brochure as well. And then a nice seating area right at the very bow for those that want to hang over the front and watch the dolphins underway. So looking into the engine room, as you can see, everything's been painted. All the bilges have been painted, and in fact that's true throughout the boat. Even all of the exterior locker spaces have all been cleaned out and repainted, and any kind of sort of corrosion has been addressed here as well. So very nice, very clean engine room. And on the opposite side, on the right hand side, we can see some of the layout here. From the right hand side, moving left, we start off at the lower deck. So you can see there are our 5 staterooms. You can see what I was talking about potentially being a little bit tight down there. It would be a lot more open if you had that master cabin up on the top deck, but then of course you would have to sacrifice the formal dining space up there. But they don't feel too cramped. The master cabin, full beam master cabin, of course, the benefit of having this down below is that it's the most stable area of the boat. So underway, that's really the best area to be. Moving up onto the next deck, we can see our big kitchen there, and the big galley there, and the forward formal dining space as well. Behind that galley is what is essentially the captain's cabin there, or can actually be used as another sort of supernumerary cabin, or something could be retrofitted to use it as maybe a masseur's cabin or a nanny's cabin or something like that. The other 2 decks, there's the Sky Lounge that we saw earlier with that beautiful bar and the sort of full-length seating down the port side, and then up onto the sun deck with that new hot tub jacuzzi underneath the mast there. So moving into some more specs and the write-up. The actual write-up here basically details a lot of the interior updating that was done in 2011 and 2012, and you can read that at your own pace. Get the yacht pack, request that just over here on the right hand side, and you can read through this at your own pace. Some of the details here, the MTU engines, they're slightly high on the hours, but the boat has been very well used since its big refit in 2008. In fact, in 2008, the main engines were basically zeroed on the hours. They had what's called a W6. So since that point in 2008, so in 5 years, it's got about 7,500 to 8,000 hours on the engines. So yes, it does have fairly high usage, but it is good that all of the scheduled maintenance is being done, that equipment is being used and sort of kept up and running. Of course, it's when the boats are sat not being used and not running is when you start having problems come up, just as you do with a classic car. So launched in 2000, 147 feet long, 28 foot of beam, and a 7-foot 5-inch draft. Details some of the fuel capacities there, 12,000 gallons. The water capacity is 2,500. They have huge water makers on here, which is far more than you would need to keep up with the daily usage. So it's nice to know that you do have that backup. Sort of if you were away from the dock for a long periods of time doing sort of extensive cruising, all of the equipment that you have on board can keep up with being out and away from the docks. And then of course, just recap on that price, 6,300,000 is a great price for this size boat. So we'll flick through to the main points that I wanted to point out, and that's the areas that are going to save you money, the mechanical equipment that has been refitted, all of the interior sort of upgrades and the visual improvements are great, but of course it's the mechanical nuts and bolts of the boat that you really want to concentrate on. And it lists everything here that has been done right through all of the refit periods. So we can see that the engine room was all painted and all the bilges were treated. All the decks were restored and retreated, all the exterior teak decks. All the mechanical equipment on board has been serviced and either replaced or refitted. The jacuzzi was new. A lot of the equipment in the bridge was new and updated. The Atlas system on board, the shore power converters, that was taken to pieces and rebuilt and proven again. The water makers were all serviced. Every pump and motor on board was taken apart and serviced or replaced. Bottom paint was done, new zincs on board. Through the refit in 2008, the rudder bearings and the rudder seals were redone. The seacocks and all the through-hole valves were all pulled and replaced or repaired. The stabilizers were removed and refitted. The bow thruster was removed and refitted. The shafts and the bearings were all pulled and either sort of replaced the bearings or repaired the bearings. The shafts were balanced and checked for pitting and they were reproven. The propellers were rebalanced. The both gearboxes were removed and rebuilt. Both main engines were rebuilt. Both generators were rebuilt. All of the tanks were inspected. The list goes on and on and on. Some of the other main sort of points here, the gearbox coolers were installed. The anchors and the anchor chains were replaced. The TV system was redone. It has a new Wi-Fi system on board, and it details some of the hours on the equipment here as well. The chillers in the AC system were replaced back in 2008. The bow thruster, as we said, that was removed in 2008. I mean, it is incredible the amount of work that was actually done on board. The steering system was removed and replaced as well. Here it details some of the equipment that they now have on board. They have the ARPA system, the Serena equipment, the chart plotters, the AIS system is on board. They have all the radars, equipment, and everything is sort of overlaid with the chart plotter and the radars. Communication system, the SATCOM, all of that equipment is all sort of upgraded with the Serena equipment as well. So really a great boat. Does have high usage. It has a high hours on the main engines, but don't let that put you off, because this is a boat that really has had such a thorough upgrade and refresh throughout the entire boat, that it's something that, for the price, the equivalent boat of a lesser age, you would really be looking at a much smaller boat, something in the 100 to 120 foot range, whereas here this is quite an attractive sort of potential buy here. Again, we flick through all of the entertainment equipment. Every room has its own sat TV, its own control. All of the refrigerators and the freezers, they're all sort of been replaced and maintained over the years as well. And as I say, get this yacht pack. There's too much for me to go through right now, because they're literally listing everything that has been done, right from the plumbing to the paint to the zincs to the navigation equipment. So that's basically it here. We finish off with the tender and toys. They have the nice 21 foot Nautica inflatable with a 4-stroke on the back. They have a couple of jet skis on board, Kawasaki jet skis, and all the usual inflatable toys and things that you would expect to see on a boat of this size. So a pretty thorough review and pretty thorough brochure this time. I really didn't do it justice by giving you this quick review, so definitely get that yacht pack and flick through it. The boat is here in South Florida, so she's available for us to do the daily yacht tours on board. If this is something that you think you may be interested in, then over on the right hand side here, click on that daily yacht tours button. Let us know the name of the boat that you're interested in and the time that would best suit you, along with your contact details, and I'm sure we'd be able to fit you in there somewhere. It is getting quite busy with the tours right now, because we're coming up towards Christmas. People are thinking about the new year. The industry has had such a breath of sort of rejuvenating fresh air with so many sales since the Fort Lauderdale Boat Show that it is a fantastic time as a buyer to get in now, before sellers start to realize that the market is turning and it sort of filters through and they're less apt to taking aggressive offers. So that's my suggestion, is to get in now before it really turns into a seller's market. We're seeing a lot of inventory go off the shelves, so get that yacht pack, get it for any boat that's currently on the market, and I'll see you next week for another set of reviews. Thank you.